I've been a park ranger for 17 years, and I thought I'd seen everything these mountains had to offer. Bears protecting cubs, mountain lions stalking prey, eagles teaching their young to fly, nature in all its brutal beauty and tender mercy. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I witnessed on the morning of April the 23rd, 2024, in the remote backcountry of North Cascades National Park. What I saw that day, what I heard, changed everything I thought I knew about the world. My name is Owen Castellano, and this is the story of the morning I watched a mother bury her child, and the moment she looked at me and spoke words I'll never forget. The alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning, same as it had every workday for the past decade. My cabin sits on the edge of the park boundary, a small two-bedroom structure built in 1978, with pine walls that creak in the wind and a wood stove that's older than I am. I've lived here alone since my divorce 5 years ago. Most people think it's lonely, but I prefer the company of trees to the complications of civilization. I made coffee in my old percolator, the same one my grandfather used when he was a ranger in Yellowstone back in the 60s. The smell of it filled the cabin, mixing with the scent of cedar and the faint mustiness that comes from living in a place where humidity is a constant companion. Outside my window, dawn was still an hour away. The darkness in these mountains is absolute, the kind of black that city folks never experience. No streetlights, no car headlights, no glow from neighboring houses. Just pure, dense darkness punctuated by more stars than most people see in a lifetime. I dressed in my ranger uniform, forest green pants and shirt, with the National Park Service patch on the shoulder, and laced up my Danner hiking boots. These particular boots had carried me through 3,000 miles of trails, and the leather had molded to my feet like a second skin. My assignment that day was a routine patrol of the Copper Ridge area, a section of the park that sees maybe a dozen visitors all year. It's remote, accessible only by a 14-mile trail that climbs 4,000 feet through old-growth forest and alpine meadows. Most of the elevation gain happens in the first 6 miles, a brutal ascent that keeps all but the most determined hikers away. I'd done this patrol probably 50 times, checking campsites for bear activity, looking for illegal fires, maintaining trail markers, the usual ranger duties. I loaded my pack with the essentials: 2 liters of water in a Camelback hydration system, energy bars, a first aid kit, my service radio, though I knew it wouldn't get signal for most of the hike, a Garmin GPS unit, bear spray on my hip, and my government-issued Sig Sauer pistol, which I'd only drawn twice in 17 years, both times for aggressive bears. I also packed my camera, a Canon EOS that I used to document trail conditions and wildlife sightings. The pack weighed about 25 pounds, light enough for a long day hike, heavy enough to remind me I wasn't 25 anymore. Before I left, I stood at my kitchen counter and looked at the photo I kept there. My daughter Emma at her high school graduation 3 years ago. She was 21 now, studying environmental science at the University of Washington in Seattle. We talked every Sunday without fail, and she'd been after me for months to come visit her in the city, but I kept putting it off. The truth was, these mountains were the only place I felt truly at peace anymore. After the divorce, after my ex-wife Linda moved to Portland with her new husband, after Emma grew up and left for college, this job was all I had left that made sense. Out here, the rules were simple. Respect the wilderness, protect the visitors, document what you see, go home at the end of the day. No complicated emotions, no messy relationships, just me and the mountains. I left the cabin at 5:15, my headlamp cutting a narrow beam through the pre-dawn darkness. The trailhead was a 10-minute drive down a gravel road that wound through Douglas fir and western hemlock. My truck, a 2012 Ford Ranger with 180,000 miles on it, rattled over the washboard surface. The radio played classic rock, Tom Petty singing about running down a dream, and I hummed along, thinking about nothing in particular. Just another day in the mountains. Just another patrol. The parking area at the trailhead was empty, as expected. I was the only person crazy enough to be out here this early on a Wednesday morning in late April. The tourist season wouldn't really kick in until June, and even then, this particular trail saw minimal traffic. I parked, killed the engine, and sat for a moment in the silence. The forest around me was waking up. I could hear birds beginning their morning songs, the distant sound of Copper Creek running high with snowmelt, the whisper of wind through the trees. I pulled out my logbook, a weathered notebook where I recorded every patrol, and made my first entry of the day. April 23rd, 2024, Copper Ridge Patrol, weather clear, temperature approximately 38 degrees at trailhead. Departed 0545 hours. Expected return 1600 hours. It was a routine I never skipped. If something went wrong out there, if I didn't return on time, this logbook would tell the search and rescue team where to start looking. I started hiking at 5:45. The trail began with a gentle grade, following Copper Creek through a corridor of massive trees. Some of these cedars and hemlocks were 600 years old, their trunks so wide it would take 4 people holding hands to encircle them. The forest floor was carpeted with ferns and moss, everything wet with dew. My boots found their rhythm on the packed dirt trail, and my breathing settled into the steady pattern of an experienced hiker. This was my meditation, this walk through the wilderness in the quiet hours before the world fully woke. The first 2 miles passed without incident. I checked the trail markers, making sure none had fallen or been vandalized. I documented a large Douglas fir that had fallen across a secondary trail during the winter, blocking access. I'd need to get a trail crew out here with chainsaws to clear it. At mile marker 2.3, I stopped to refill my water bottle from Copper Creek. The water was ice cold, fresh from snowmelt higher up the mountain. I added a purification tablet just to be safe, even though I'd drunk straight from this creek dozens of times without issue. Around mile 3, I started seeing bear sign. Fresh tracks in the mud near the creek, probably a black bear based on the size and shape. There was scat on the trail too, maybe a day old, filled with the remains of berries and vegetation. Spring was when bears emerged from hibernation, hungry and irritable, so I made a mental note to be extra cautious. I took photos of the tracks and scat, part of the ongoing wildlife monitoring we did in the park. By 6:30, I'd climbed about 2,000 feet, and the sun was finally starting to paint the eastern sky with streaks of orange and pink. The forest here was different, more alpine, with smaller trees and more open spaces. I could see patches of snow in the shaded areas, remnants of the winter that had just ended. The temperature was probably around 40 degrees, cold enough that my breath still fogged in the air, warm enough that I'd worked up a light sweat under my pack. I stopped at a scenic overlook, a rocky outcropping that gave a view of the valley below. From here, I could see for miles. The Skagit River wound through the valley like a silver ribbon. Mount Shuksan stood in the distance, its glaciers gleaming in the early morning light. This was why I did this job. This view, this moment of pure solitude in one of the most beautiful places on earth. I pulled out an energy bar and ate it slowly, savoring the quiet. That's when I first noticed something was off. The forest had gone quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of early morning, but the unnatural silence that happens when predators are near. Every animal within a half-mile radius had gone completely still. No bird songs, no squirrels chattering, no rustling in the underbrush, just silence. In 17 years of ranging, I'd learned to trust that silence. It meant something dangerous was nearby. I stopped walking and stood completely still, listening, watching. My hand moved instinctively to the bear spray on my hip. Black bears were common in this area, and while they usually avoided humans, a mother with cubs could be aggressive if she felt threatened. I scanned the forest around me, looking for any sign of movement. The trail ahead curved around a massive boulder, disappearing into a thick stand of mountain hemlock. Nothing obvious, but the silence continued oppressive and wrong. I pulled out my radio and keyed the mic, more out of habit than expectation. "Base, this is Ranger Castellano on Copper Ridge Patrol. I'm at approximately mile 5.2, noting unusual wildlife behavior. Possible predator in area. Will proceed with caution. Over." Static was the only response. I was too deep in the mountains for the radio to reach the ranger station. I was on my own out here, same as I'd been on dozens of previous patrols. I waited 5 minutes, then 10. The silence persisted. Whatever was out there wasn't moving, which meant it was probably aware of me and trying to decide what to do. I considered turning back, but that felt like an overreaction. I was an armed park ranger in the middle of my jurisdiction, doing my job. I dealt with bears, cougars, even aggressive elk during rutting season. Whatever was ahead, I could handle it. But there was something else bothering me. Something beyond the silence. It was a feeling I'd only experienced a handful of times in my career. A primitive instinct that came from some ancient part of my brain. The feeling of being watched. Not by an animal assessing me as prey or threat, but something different. Something more aware, more intelligent. I started moving forward again, but slowly, making noise with my boots, giving whatever was out there plenty of warning that a human was approaching. That's the protocol for bears. Make yourself known. Give them a chance to leave. I rounded the boulder and entered the stand of hemlocks. The trail here was narrow, hemmed in by trees on both sides with limited visibility, not my favorite kind of terrain. The hemlock grove was dark, even with the sun rising. The canopy overhead was so thick it blocked most of the light, creating a twilight atmosphere. My footsteps seemed too loud on the needle-covered trail. I noticed something else then, something that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. There were marks on the trees. Not bear claw marks, which I knew well. These were different. Higher up on the trunks, about 7 or 8 feet off the ground. They looked almost like handprints, as if something had gripped the bark while moving through the forest. I stopped to examine one of the marks more closely. The bark was scraped away in a pattern that suggested fingers. Large fingers with significant strength behind them. Fresh, too, probably made within the last day or two. Whatever had left these marks was big and had opposable thumbs. My mind went through the possibilities. Bears could stand on hind legs, but they didn't grab trees like this. Cougars climbed, but they used claws, not hands. There was no animal in this forest that should have left marks like these. Then I smelled it. A scent like nothing I'd encountered before. Not the musky odor of a bear, not the acrid smell of a cougar, but something else entirely. It was organic, earthy, like wet fur, and decomposing vegetation, but stronger, more pungent. The smell was so powerful it made my eyes water. I stopped again, my senses on high alert now. Every instinct I had was telling me to turn around, to get out of there. But curiosity, and maybe a bit of professional pride, kept me moving forward. I'd heard the stories, of course. Every ranger in the Pacific Northwest had heard them. Campfire tales about encounters with something that walked on 2 legs but wasn't human. Footprints too large to belong to any known animal. Howls in the night that didn't match any recorded species. Most rangers dismissed them as folklore, misidentifications, hoaxes. I'd always been in that camp. I believed in what I could see, document, verify. Everything else was just stories. But as I moved through that hemlock grove, following that impossible smell and seeing those impossible marks on the trees, I felt my certainty crumbling. Something was out here, something I'd never encountered before. The trail emerged from the hemlocks into a small alpine meadow, maybe 100 yards across, and that's where I saw her. At first, my brain couldn't process what I was looking at. It was too big to be a bear, too upright, too human-like in its posture. The creature was kneeling in the center of the meadow, its back to me, about 70 yards away. It had to be 8 feet tall, maybe more, covered in dark reddish-brown hair that hung in thick tangles. The shoulders were impossibly broad, the arms long and muscular, and it was doing something with its hands, moving them in a deliberate, purposeful way. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. This wasn't possible, this couldn't be real, but there it was, as solid and real as the trees around me. A Bigfoot, a Sasquatch, whatever you wanted to call it. The creature that wasn't supposed to exist, that scientists dismissed as folklore and hoaxes, was kneeling 50 yards in front of me. My hand shook as I slowly reached for my camera. Every movement felt too loud, too obvious. The creature hadn't noticed me yet, or if it had, it was ignoring me. I raised the camera to my eye and looked through the viewfinder, trying to steady my breathing. Through the lens, I could see more details. The hair was matted and graying around the shoulders. The body had a slight hunch, not from injury, but from age or exhaustion. And now I could see what it was doing. It was digging. Its massive hands were scooping dirt from a hole in the meadow, creating a depression maybe 2 feet deep and 3 feet wide. The hands moved with surprising dexterity, the fingers working independently to grip and move the earth. This wasn't the clumsy pawing of an animal. This was deliberate, skilled manual labor. Next to the hole, laid out carefully on a bed of ferns, was something small, something that made my throat tighten and my hands stop shaking from adrenaline. It was a baby, a tiny Bigfoot, no more than 2 feet long, with light brown fur and limbs that looked impossibly delicate compared to the massive adult beside it. The baby wasn't moving. Even from this distance, even without knowing anything about these creatures, I could tell it was dead. The way it lay there, perfectly still, the unnatural angle of its limbs, the complete absence of any breathing movement. The mother, because I had no doubt now that's what she was, had been digging a grave for her child. I watched through the camera lens, unable to move, unable to look away as she completed the hole. She sat back on her heels, and I heard something that will haunt me for the rest of my life. She made a sound, a low, keening wail that started deep in her chest and rose in pitch until it echoed across the meadow and bounced off the surrounding peaks. It was grief, pure and absolute, expressed in a voice that was neither human nor animal, but something in between. The sound made my skin prickle and brought tears to my eyes. I'd heard mother bears call for their cubs, heard coyotes howl for lost pack members, but this was different. This was conscious awareness of loss. This was mourning. The wail faded and the meadow fell silent again. The mother reached over and carefully, so carefully, picked up her baby. Her movements were gentle, cradling the small body against her chest, with one massive arm while the other supported its head. She rocked slightly, back and forth, holding her child one last time. And then, with a tenderness that broke my heart, she laid the baby in the hole she'd dug. She spent several minutes arranging it, adjusting its position, making sure it was settled properly. I could see her tucking the tiny arms close to the body, positioning the head just so, smoothing the light brown fur with her massive fingers. Then she began covering it with dirt, using her hands to gently pat the earth over the small body. Each movement was deliberate, careful, almost ritualistic. When the grave was filled, she gathered stones from around the meadow, carrying them one at a time and placing them over the mound. Not randomly, but in a pattern, creating a cairn that marked the spot. I stood there, camera forgotten in my hands, watching this impossible scene unfold. A mother burying her child with more care and ceremony, than I'd seen at some human funerals. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I was witnessing. These creatures weren't supposed to be intelligent. They weren't supposed to have culture or burial practices. They were supposed to be animals, if they existed at all. When the cairn was complete, the mother sat back and placed both hands on the stones. Her head bowed and her shoulders shook. She was crying. A Bigfoot was crying. The sound was different from the wail, quieter, more broken, a series of soft, choked sobs that spoke of a grief too deep for words. I don't know what possessed me to do what I did next. Maybe it was compassion. Maybe it was the same instinct that makes humans reach out to others in pain, regardless of who or what they are. But I took a step forward, my boot crunching on a twig that sounded like a gunshot in the silence. The mother's head snapped up. She spun around with a speed that shouldn't have been possible for something so large. And for the first time, I saw her face. It was like nothing I'd ever seen, like nothing I'd imagined. The bone structure was heavy, with a pronounced brow ridge and a broad, flat nose. But the eyes, God, the eyes were what got me. They were brown, deep and expressive, and filled with an intelligence that was undeniable. And in that moment, those eyes held every emotion I'd seen in human faces: shock, fear, grief, and something else. A pleading, desperate quality that said, "Please, please don't hurt me. Not now, not after this." We stared at each other across that meadow, separated by 70 yards and millions of years of evolution. And I felt a connection I'd never felt with any wild animal. This wasn't a beast. This wasn't a creature. This was a person. Different from me, yes, but fundamentally, undeniably, a person who had just lost her child. I raised both hands slowly, palms forward, the universal gesture of peace. I took another small step forward, moving carefully, non-threateningly. The mother didn't run. She stayed there, kneeling beside her child's grave, watching me with those impossibly human eyes. Her body was tense, ready to flee or fight, but she held her ground. I took another step, then another. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every ranger training I'd ever received, every protocol for wild animal encounters, was screaming at me to back away, to give the creature space. But something deeper, something more fundamental than training, told me to approach, told me that this moment, this connection, was more important than safety protocols. I was maybe 40 yards away when I spoke. My voice came out rougher than I intended, tight with emotion. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. I didn't know what else to say. How do you offer condolences to a grieving mother when that mother belongs to a species that's not supposed to exist?" The mother's eyes widened. Her mouth opened slightly, showing large, square teeth. For a moment, I thought she would run, thought I'd pushed too far, crossed some invisible line. But then she did something that stopped my heart. She spoke. Not in whatever language her kind used, but in English. Broken, heavily accented, her vocal cords clearly not designed for human speech, but unmistakably, undeniably English. "You." She paused, struggling with the words. "You see? You know." The words came out rough and guttural, each one an effort, but clear enough to understand. I felt my legs go weak. My mind couldn't process what was happening. A Bigfoot had just spoken to me in English. Tears were streaming down my face now, and I didn't care. "Yes," I said. "I see. I know. I'm sorry." She looked down at the cairn of stones, then back at me. Her massive hand reached out, gesturing to the grave. Her voice caught. "My daughter, gone. 3-day, sick. I try. Can't save." The words hung in the air between us, each one a hammer blow to my understanding of reality. This creature, this being that science said couldn't exist, had just told me her child had died 3 days ago, had told me she'd tried to save her, had spoken to me in my own language, however broken and difficult the words were for her to form. I took another careful step closer, now maybe 30 yards away, close enough to see the moisture in her eyes, the way her chest heaved with each breath, the trembling in her massive hands. She didn't back away, but I could see the wariness in her posture, the tension that said she could bolt at any moment. "How," I started, then stopped. My voice was barely a whisper. "How do you know English? How do you speak our language?" She tilted her head slightly, a gesture that was startlingly human. "Listen, long time. Watch human, learn words." Her pronunciation was improving slightly as she spoke, as if remembering how to form the sounds. Hard to make. Her hand touched her throat. "Not same, not like you." I realized what she was telling me. Her vocal anatomy was different from humans. Her throat, her tongue, her palate, they weren't designed for human speech. But she'd learned it anyway, through years, maybe decades, of listening to humans from the shadows. The implications were staggering. "How long have you been watching us?" I asked. "How long have your people been learning from us?" She seemed to consider the question, her brow furrowing in concentration. "I born when snowfall many time." She struggled with the concept. Maybe 40 winter, maybe more. Learn from father. He learned from his mother. Always watch, always careful. Human, dangerous, 40 winters, 40 years. This being was roughly my age, and she'd spent her entire life observing humanity from hiding, learning our language, our ways while staying invisible. The thought made me feel exposed, vulnerable. How many times had I hiked these mountains thinking I was alone when eyes were watching me from the forest? "I'm not dangerous," I said softly. "Not to you, I promise." Her eyes studied me with an intensity that felt like she was looking into my soul. "All humans say not dangerous. Then bring gun, bring trap, bring fire, kill my kind." Her voice grew harder, more bitter. "My mother killed by human, shot when I small. My brother taken, never see again. My uncle." Her voice broke, "found in trap, leg broken, starved to death in metal teeth." Each word was an accusation, a history of violence and loss inflicted by my species on hers. I felt shame wash over me, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to tell her that not all humans were like that some of us cared about wildlife, about conservation, about protecting these mountains. But how hollow would those words sound to someone whose family had been systematically destroyed by people like me? "I'm sorry," I said again, because it was all I could say. "I'm so sorry for what we've done to your people." She looked at me for a long moment, then down at the grave of her daughter. "Sorry, not bring back. Sorry, not heal sick. Sorry, not stop hurt." She placed both hands on the cairn again, her head bowing. "Sorry, just word, just air, mean nothing." She was right, of course. My apologies were meaningless in the face of such loss. But I had to try, had to make her understand that at least one human saw her, recognized her pain, acknowledged her existence as something more than an animal or a myth. "What was her name?" I asked gently. "Your daughter. What did you call her?" The mother's head lifted, surprise evident in her expression. "Name? You want no name?" "Yes," I said, "please, if you'll tell me." She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, the words came in her own language first, a series of soft sounds that were almost melodic, like wind through trees or water over stones. Then she tried to translate, in human word, maybe. She struggled. "Morning light, she born when sun come up, hair color of sun, so I call, morning light, morning light." I repeated the name softly, committing it to memory. "It's beautiful, she was beautiful." The mother's eyes glistened with fresh tears. "Yes, beautiful, perfect, only 3 season old. Just learn walk good, just start talk in our way." She made a sound that might have been a sob or a laugh. "She try say my name, not right yet, but she try." I found myself crying openly now, tears running down my face without shame. This wasn't just grief I was witnessing. This was the same love, the same bond, the same devastating loss that any parent would feel. I thought of Emma, my daughter, and tried to imagine losing her at 3 years old. The thought was unbearable. "What happened?" I asked quietly. "You said she was sick. What kind of sickness?" The mother's face contorted with pain and frustration. "Not know. Start 4 days ago she not eat, belly hurt, then fever. Hot, so hot. I carry her to cold water. Try cool down, but fever not stop. She made that keening sound again, softer this time. She shake, can't breathe good. I hold her, try help. But morning 3rd day, she stop breath, stop move, gone." My medical training, basic as it was for a park ranger, immediately started running through possibilities. Fever, abdominal pain, difficulty breathing, seizures. It could have been any number of infections, bacterial or viral. It could have been appendicitis or some other acute condition. Without knowing their physiology, without any medical history or examination, it was impossible to say. But one thing was clear: Morning Light had needed medical intervention, antibiotics, supportive care, things her mother couldn't provide in the wilderness. "There was nothing you could have done," I said gently. "Not without medicine, without a doctor. You did everything a mother could do, not enough." She touched the stones of the cairn with infinite tenderness. "Never enough. I fail her, fail keep safe, fail make better." She looked up at me and the anguish in her eyes was soul deep. "She last of my children. I have 3 before. 2 die when babies, sickness take them. 1 die from." She gestured, miming something falling. "Fall from high place, break inside. Only Morning Light lived past first winter, and now." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. I understood. Out of 4 children, she'd lost them all. And now she knelt here alone, burying the last one. The tragedy of it was overwhelming. "How many of you are there?" I asked. "Your people. How many are left?" She looked at me warily, and I saw the calculation in her eyes. This was dangerous information. Information that could lead hunters or scientists or curiosity seekers straight to her family. But something in my face, something in the moment we'd shared, must have convinced her I wasn't a threat. Not many. Her voice was barely audible. "In this mountain, maybe 10, maybe 12. In all land around, maybe 30, 40. We spread far, hide good. But every year, less. Babies die, old ones die. Human come closer, less place to hide, less food. We fade like morning fog in sun. 30 or 40 individuals. An entire intelligent species reduced to a population smaller than my high school graduating class. They were critically endangered, possibly on the verge of extinction, and the world didn't even know they existed. The weight of that knowledge settled on my shoulders like a physical burden. "I need to tell someone," I said slowly, thinking out loud. "I need to get help for your people. Medical help, protected land, resources." The mother's reaction was immediate and violent. She stood abruptly, her full height towering over me, even from 30 yards away. "No," the word came out as almost a growl. "No tell. You promise, no tell human. They come, they hunt, they take, they kill, always kill." I raised my hands in a placating gesture, taking a step back. Okay, I won't tell. Not if you don't want me to." But I had to try. I had to make her see. "But your people are dying. Morning Light died because she couldn't get medicine. How many more children will die without help? Better die free than die in cage. Better die in our mountain than die on human table with knife and needle." She was breathing hard now, her chest heaving. "You not understand. Humans see us, human take us, make us thing to study, thing to put in zoo, thing to cut open and learn from. We not thing, we people. We stay hidden, we stay free. We die if must, but we die as people, not as thing." Her words struck me with the force of truth. She was absolutely right. If the world found out about them, the best case scenario would be protective custody, scientific study, managed breeding programs. They'd lose their freedom, their way of life, everything that made them who they were. The worst-case scenario was what she'd described: capture, imprisonment, exploitation, possibly even death at the hands of those who feared what they didn't understand. "I understand," I said quietly. "I do, and I promise, I won't tell anyone. Your secret is safe with me." She studied me for a long time, searching my face for any sign of deception. Finally, she seemed to relax slightly, her shoulders dropping, her stance becoming less aggressive. "Why you care?" she asked. "Why you come close? Why you not run, not shoot, not try catch?" "Because," I said, struggling to put into words something I barely understood myself. "Because I saw a mother grieving for her child. And that transcends everything else. Species, language, fear. None of that matters when you see someone in pain. I would hope that if I were in your position, if I lost my daughter, someone would show me compassion, even if they were different from me, even if they were afraid." The mother's eyes softened. "You have daughter, small one." I smiled through my tears. "Not anymore. She's 21 now, grown, in college, studying to be a scientist. But yes, I have a daughter. Her name is Emma." "Emma." The mother repeated the name carefully as if tasting it. "You love her?" "More than anything in the world," I said without hesitation. "Then you understand." The mother gestured to the cairn. "This love, this pain, same as you. We not different in heart." "No," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "We're not different in heart. Not at all." We stood there in that alpine meadow, two beings from different worlds, connected by the universal experience of love and loss. The sun had climbed higher now, warming the air, melting the patches of snow that lingered in the shadows. Birds had started singing again, tentatively at first, then with more confidence. Life was returning to the forest around us, even as we stood beside a grave. The mother knelt back down beside the cairn, her massive hand resting on the stones. "I should go now. Leave this place. Not safe stay long." She looked up at me. "Human come, see tracks, see signs, find us. Always find us if we stay." "Where will you go?" I asked, though I knew she probably wouldn't tell me. Couldn't tell me for her own safety. "Far, deep mountain where human not go, where snow stay all year and path too hard." She paused, her hand still on the grave. "But I come back. Every spring when flower grow. Come see her, talk to her, tell her about year." The thought of this mother returning year after year to visit her daughter's grave, speaking to stones and earth, broke something in me. It was too human, too familiar, too heartbreaking. My own mother had done the same thing after my father died, visiting his grave every Sunday morning without fail, bringing fresh flowers, telling him about her week as if he could hear. "I'll watch over it," I said impulsively. "The grave. I'll make sure nothing disturbs it. I patrol this area regularly. I can keep it safe." The mother's head lifted sharply, surprise and something that might have been hope flickering across her face. "You do this? For child not your own? For people not your kind?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I'll protect this place. I promise you." She studied me for a long moment. Then slowly, deliberately, she stood and took several steps toward me. We were now maybe 20 feet apart, close enough that I could smell that earthy, musky scent that clung to her, close enough to see the individual hairs on her arms, the deep lines around her eyes, the silver threading through her reddish-brown fur. She raised one massive hand, palm forward, fingers spread. I understood the gesture. She was offering trust, offering connection. Slowly, carefully, I raised my own hand, matching her posture. For a moment we stood like that, two hands raised in mirror image, separated by 20 feet and countless barriers. yet somehow bridged by mutual understanding. Then she spoke, and her words were in her own language, a series of sounds that were melodic and complex, rising and falling like song. When she finished, she translated, though I could tell the English version was inadequate. I say, she searched for words. Blessing, thank, hope you walk safe all days. Hope your daughter grow strong. Hope forest keep you safe, like you keep daughter morning light safe. It was a blessing, a prayer, spoken by a mother over her child's grave to a stranger who'd promised to protect it. I felt the weight of it settle over me, a responsibility I hadn't sought but would honor for as long as I lived. Thank you, I whispered. I won't let you down. She nodded once, then turned back to the cairn. She knelt again and placed both hands on the stones. Her head bowed. She stayed like that for several minutes, completely still, and I realized she was saying goodbye. Not just for today, but for the year. She wouldn't return until next spring, and until then, this grave would stand alone in this remote meadow, visited only by wind and weather and a park ranger who'd stumbled into something beyond his comprehension. When she finally stood, her movements were slow, heavy with grief. She looked at me one last time. You keep promise, not tell. I keep my promise, I said. No one will know, not from me. Good. She turned to leave, then paused. Your name? What human call you? Owen, I said. Owen Castellano. She repeated it carefully, her pronunciation surprisingly accurate. Owen, I remember. If you need, speak to me. If danger come to this place, if human come close. She gestured to a large boulder at the edge of the meadow. Stack 3 stone on big rock, high so I see from far. I watch, I come if I can. She was giving me a way to contact her, a signal system in case of emergency. The trust implicit in that gesture was staggering. You'll see it, you'll know. I watch this place. Every moon cycle, check on daughter. If I see stone signal, I come at night. 2 night after you make sign. She held up 2 fingers. Understand? I understand. 2 nights after I stack 3 stones on that boulder, you'll come at night. She nodded. Good. Then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She pressed her right fist to her chest, over her heart, then extended it toward me. The gesture was so human, so universal, that I needed no translation. It was respect, gratitude, connection. I mirrored the gesture, fist to heart, then extended. She watched me do it, then turned and walked towards the tree line. Her gait was smooth despite her size, moving with a grace that shouldn't have been possible for something so large. At the edge of the forest, she paused and looked back one more time. My name, she said, in case you wonder, in case you need know. Her voice carried across the meadow, clear despite the distance. They call me. She said something in her language that sounded like wind through branches. In human word, maybe. Deep water. Because I born near great lake and mountain where water very deep, very dark. Deep water, I repeated. I'll remember. She nodded, then vanished into the trees. One moment she was there, a massive figure silhouetted against the green forest. The next, she was gone, melted into the wilderness as if she'd never existed. The only evidence of her presence was the cairn of stones in the center of the meadow and the tracks her feet had left in the soft earth. I stood there for a long time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe more. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, every emotion possible surging through me at once. Awe, fear, sadness, wonder, responsibility. I just had a conversation with a Bigfoot, a real, living, breathing, intelligent Bigfoot who'd spoken to me in English, who'd shared her grief with me, who'd trusted me with her greatest secret. Eventually, I forced myself to move. I walked to the cairn and knelt beside it, looking at the carefully arranged stones. Beneath them lay Morning Light, a child who'd lived only 3 years, who'd never had a chance to grow up, who died from something that modern medicine might have prevented. I placed my hand on the stones, feeling their rough texture, still warm from where Deepwater's hands had rested. "I promise," I whispered to the grave. "I'll watch over you, I'll keep you safe, and I'll keep your mother's secret. You have my word." The wind picked up, rustling through the meadow grass, and for a moment, I could have sworn I heard a child's laughter carried on the breeze. But when I turned to look, there was nothing there. Just the meadow, the forest, and the mountains rising around me in silent testimony to what had happened here. I stood and pulled out my camera. I needed to document this, but carefully. I couldn't take photos that would reveal the location or make it obvious what this was. I took wide shots of the meadow, nothing that showed the cairn clearly. I photographed the surrounding peaks for reference points only I would recognize, and I made mental notes of every detail. The exact GPS coordinates, the arrangement of the trees, the distinctive rock formations. This place was now part of my patrol route, and I would protect it. Before I left, I walked to the boulder Deepwater had indicated. It was granite, maybe 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide, worn smooth by centuries of weather, perfect for stacking stones. I looked around the meadow one more time, then started the long hike back to the trailhead. The journey down felt surreal. Everything looked the same trail, the same trees, the same creek running alongside the path. But I was different. I carried knowledge that would change me forever. I'd met someone, not something, someone who belonged to a species science said didn't exist. And I'd made promises that I intended to keep no matter what. By the time I reached my truck, it was just after 2 in the afternoon. I'd been gone almost 9 hours. I sat in the cab and pulled out my logbook, staring at the blank page where I was supposed to record my patrol findings. What was I supposed to write? Encountered juvenile bear tracks at mile 3. Documented fallen Douglas fir blocking secondary trail. Conducted conversation with Bigfoot mother about her deceased daughter. Promised to maintain gravesite and keep secret of dying species. I wrote the only thing I could. April 23, 2024, Copper Ridge Patrol, trail conditions good. Wildlife activity normal, no issues to report. Returned 1,400 hours. It was the first time in 17 years I'd lied in my logbook, but it was a lie I would maintain for the rest of my career. The drive back to my cabin was automatic, my hands steering while my mind replayed every moment of the morning. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I'd made several decisions. First, I would indeed make the meadow part of my regular patrol route, finding excuses to check it monthly. Second, I would research everything I could about wildlife diseases, learning what might have killed morning light and what could threaten the rest of Deepwater's people. Third, I would never, ever tell anyone what I'd seen. Not Emma, not my fellow rangers, not anyone. This secret would die with me. But there was one thing I had to do. One small way I could honor what had happened. I went inside my cabin and found my personal journal, a leather-bound book where I wrote about my life, my thoughts, things I couldn't put in official reports. And I wrote down everything. Every word of the conversation, every detail of Deepwater's appearance, every moment of the burial ceremony. I wrote about morning light, about the tragic history of Deepwater's family, about the dwindling population of her species, and I wrote about my promise. When I finished, it was nearly midnight. My hand ached from writing, and my eyes burned with exhaustion. But I had a complete record of the most significant day of my life, preserved in case something ever happened to me, sealed in an envelope with instructions that it should only be opened after my death, addressed to Emma. Let her decide what to do with the information when I was gone. The weeks that followed were strange. I went about my normal duties, leading tourist groups, checking campsites, maintaining trails. But everything felt different now. Every time I walked through the forest, I wondered if I was being watched. I found myself noticing details I'd overlooked before, unusual tracks, broken branches at heights no bear could reach, patterns of stones that might be markers or messages. The wilderness I thought I knew had become a place of infinite mystery. A month after my encounter, I made my first return visit to the meadow. I told my supervisor I needed to check on the fallen tree I'd documented, make sure it wasn't creating a hazard. The hike up was easier this time, knowing what I would find at the end. When I reached the meadow, everything looked exactly as I'd left it. The cairn stood undisturbed, the stones exactly as Deepwater had placed them. Wildflowers had started blooming around it, creating a natural garden around Morning Light's grave. I spent an hour there, clearing away some pine branches that had fallen nearby, making sure the site was clean and protected. Before I left, I stood before the cairn and spoke aloud, feeling only slightly foolish. Your mother will be back next spring. Until then, I'm keeping watch. You're not forgotten, Morning Light. You're not alone. As I turned to leave, I noticed something I'd missed on my first visit. There were other cairns in the meadow, much older, partially covered by moss and vegetation. 5 of them, scattered around the periphery, each one marked a grave. Deepwater's other children, I realized. The 2 who'd died as infants, the one who'd fallen, and 2 more I didn't know about. This wasn't just a grave. This was a family cemetery used for generations. The knowledge both comforted and saddened me. Morning Light wasn't alone here. She rested among family in a place her people had chosen long ago as sacred ground, and I had been trusted to protect it all. Over the next year, I visited the meadow every month without fail. Spring turned to summer, summer to fall, fall to winter. Snow covered the graves, then melted away. Flowers bloomed and died. The forest cycled through its eternal patterns, and I maintained my vigil. I never saw Deepwater again, but I knew she was out there. Sometimes I'd find small signs, a pile of berries left on a flat rock near my cabin, fresh tracks that appeared overnight near the meadow. Once, during a winter patrol, I heard that distinctive howl echoing through the mountains, and I knew it was her, letting me know she was still alive, still surviving. In April of 2025, exactly 1 year after my first encounter, I hiked to the meadow at dawn. I didn't know if Deepwater would return on the anniversary, but I wanted to be there, wanted her to know I'd kept my promise. I sat near the edge of the meadow, far enough away to give her space if she came, close enough to be visible. The sun rose, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Birds sang, the forest woke around me, and at precisely 7:30 in the morning, she emerged from the trees. She looked older, I thought, more gray in her fur, more weight to her movements. She saw me immediately but showed no alarm. She simply nodded once in acknowledgement, then walked to Morning Light's grave. I watched as she knelt beside the cairn, her hand resting on the stones just as it had a year ago. She stayed there for over an hour, sometimes still, sometimes rocking slightly, sometimes making soft sounds in her own language. I couldn't understand the words, but I didn't need to. This was a mother talking to her daughter, sharing the year's events, expressing love that transcended death. When she finally stood, she walked to each of the other cairns in turn, spending time at each one, honoring all her children, all her losses. When she finished, she looked across the meadow at me. "Thank you," she said, her English still broken but clearer than before. "You keep promise, daughter safe." "Always," I replied, "as long as I'm able." She reached into a leather pouch she wore across her shoulder and pulled something out. Then she walked halfway across the meadow and laid it on a flat rock, gesturing for me to come look. I approached carefully and saw what she'd left. It was a carving made from what looked like elk antler. The image showed a mother holding a baby, rendered with surprising skill and detail. On the back were marks I couldn't read, possibly writing in her people's language. "For you," Deepwater said, "so you remember, so you know." She pointed at the carving. "Morning light, live in stone, live in memory, live because you care." I picked up the carving carefully, feeling its weight, its smoothness. It was beautiful, heartbreaking, precious beyond measure. "I'll treasure this," I said. "Thank you." "One more thing," she said. She gestured around the meadow. "Two more of my people use this place, this cemetery we share. All our children who die come here. You protect not just my daughter, you protect all our lost ones." "How many?" I asked gently. 12 grave here, some very old, some new." She paused. "We hope no more, but sickness come, accident happen. When new grave needed, we come here. This place sacred to us, holy ground." "I understand," I said. "I'll protect them all, the whole meadow, all of it." She nodded slowly, then did that gesture again, fist to heart, extended toward me. I mirrored it, and we stood like that for a moment. Two guardians of the same sacred space, united by mutual respect and shared sorrow. Deepwater turned to leave, then paused. "Your daughter, Emma, she well?" "Yes," I said, surprised she remembered. "She's doing great. Just finished her second year of college." "Good." Deepwater's expression softened. "Hold her close. Tell her you love her. Every day. Tomorrow not promised." "I will," I said, my voice thick. "I promise." She nodded one final time, then walked back to the forest and disappeared. I stood there holding the carving, tears running down my face, understanding that I'd just been given an extraordinary gift. Not just the carving, but trust, connection, purpose. That was 3 years ago. I'm 43 now, still a ranger in North Cascades National Park. I still make my monthly visits to the meadow, still maintain the graves, still honor my promise. I've added Deepwater's carving to my cabin, displayed where I see it every morning when I wake up. It reminds me that the world is bigger and stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine. It reminds me that intelligence and emotion and love exist in forms we don't expect. And it reminds me that sometimes the most important promises are the ones we make in secret, kept between ourselves and those who trust us to keep them. I haven't seen Deepwater since that second visit, but I know she's out there. Every spring, the berries appear on my doorstep. Every winter, I hear that howl in the mountains. And every time I visit the meadow, I feel a presence watching from the trees, making sure the graves are still protected, making sure I'm still keeping my word. Last month, Emma called me with news. She's graduating next year with her degree in environmental science, and she's been accepted to a graduate program specializing in wildlife conservation. She wants to work in the national parks, wants to follow in my footsteps. I could hear the excitement in her voice, the passion for protecting wild places that I'd somehow passed on to her. "I'm proud of you," I told her. "You're going to do amazing things. You're going to help protect species that need protection." "Thanks, Dad," she said. "I learned from the best. You've always shown me that every life matters, that conservation is about more than just numbers and policies. It's about respecting the right of all beings to exist, even the ones we don't fully understand. Especially those," I said quietly, thinking of Deepwater and morning light and 12 graves in a hidden meadow that the world would never know about. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and looked out at the mountains. Somewhere in that vast wilderness, a mother was surviving against impossible odds. Somewhere out there, children were being born to a dying species, living their brief lives in the shadows of human civilization, and I was one of perhaps a handful of people who knew the truth and chose to protect it rather than exploit it. That's what I think about now when people ask me why I love this job, why I've stayed a ranger for so long when I could make more money doing something else. I tell them it's about the beauty of these mountains, the satisfaction of protecting wild places, the joy of helping visitors connect with nature. And all of that is true. But the deeper truth, the one I can never share, is that I made a promise to a mother beside her daughter's grave. And that promise has become the defining purpose of my life. I'm not just a park ranger, I'm a guardian of secrets, a protector of the unknown, a keeper of sacred ground that exists on no map and appears in no guidebook. Some people search their whole lives for meaning, for purpose, for something larger than themselves to believe in. I found mine on an April morning in a hidden meadow, speaking with a mother whose grief was as real and deep as any I'd ever witnessed. She taught me that intelligence isn't unique to humans, that family bonds transcend species, and that sometimes the most profound connections happen between the most unlikely beings. Every night before I go to sleep, I look at that carving of a mother and child, and I remember Deepwater's words, tomorrow not promised, hold close, tell love, every day. So I call Emma more often now. I tell her I love her, even when it feels awkward, even when she laughs and says, I know, Dad, you told me yesterday, because Deepwater was right. Tomorrow isn't promised, and the time we have with those we love is precious and finite and should never be taken for granted. This spring, I'll make my 5th annual visit to the meadow on the anniversary of that first meeting. I don't know if Deepwater will be there. She might be. She might not. Her people's population is so small, so fragile, that each year brings new threats to their survival. Disease, accidents, encounters with humans who aren't as understanding as I was. The simple mathematics of a population too small to sustain itself. But whether I see her or not, I'll maintain the graves. I'll protect that sacred ground. And I'll keep the secret for as long as I live, because that's what you do when someone trusts you with their story, with their pain, with their existence. There have been close calls over the years, times when I've had to actively protect the meadow from discovery. Last summer, a group of amateur cryptozoologists showed up at the ranger station with maps and thermal imaging equipment, asking for permits to explore the Copper Ridge area. They'd seen what they called anomalous heat signatures on satellite imagery from the previous winter. My blood ran cold when I saw their maps. They'd marked an area within 2 miles of the meadow. I told them that section of the park was closed due to unstable trail conditions. I invented a rock slide that hadn't happened, filed a false closure report that I'd have to maintain in the system indefinitely. It was the second time I'd lied in an official capacity, and it wouldn't be the last. When they pressed, asking when the area would reopen, I said at least 2 years, maybe 3. Depends on funding for trail reconstruction. They were disappointed but accepted it. After they left, I sat in my office for an hour, hands shaking, realizing how close I'd come to failing in my promise. That night, I hiked to the meadow in darkness, something I'd never done before. I needed to make sure it was still safe, still undisturbed. When I arrived, I saw fresh tracks around the perimeter. Deepwater had been there too, probably checking on the same thing I was. She'd known somehow that danger was near. I left 3 stones stacked on the boulder. 2 nights later, she came. We sat across from each other in the darkness, the meadow silver with moonlight. She looked exhausted, I thought, more worn than I'd ever seen her. The stress of constant vigilance, constant fear was taking its toll. Thank you, she said quietly, for turn away humans, for protect this place. Always, I replied. But Deepwater, I need to ask, are there others who know? Other humans who might help protect your people? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, one other, old man, live alone in mountain far south. He know my grandmother, keep secret many years. He died 2 winter ago. Now just you. The weight of that knowledge settled over me like a physical burden. I was the only human alive who knew the truth about these people, the only ally they had in a world that was slowly crushing them out of existence. If something happened to me, if I died unexpectedly, there would be no one to protect this meadow, no one to warn them of danger, no one to bear witness to their existence. I need to ask you something, I said carefully. If something happens to me, an accident, illness, whatever, is there a way I can leave instructions for someone I trust? Someone who could continue protecting this place? Deepwater considered this. Your daughter, Emma? Maybe, I said, when she's older, when she's ready. But I don't know if I should burden her with this secret. Not burden, Deepwater said firmly. Gift, honor. We trust her if you trust her. She looked at me intently, but only when you ready. Only when she ready. Some knowledge change person, make them carry weight they not prepare for. She was right, of course. I'd learned that firsthand. The knowledge I carried had changed me fundamentally, had reoriented my entire life around a secret I could never share. I wouldn't wish that burden on Emma unless I was certain she could bear it. We talked for another hour that night about things I'd never dared ask before. She told me about her people's history, what she knew of it. They'd been more numerous once, she said. Hundreds, maybe thousands, spread across the Pacific Northwest and into Canada. But over the centuries, as humans expanded, their numbers dwindled. Disease was the worst killer. Illnesses that were minor to humans could be devastating to her people. The flu epidemic of 1918 had decimated entire family groups. More recently, she'd lost cousins to what sounded like tuberculosis, contracted from contaminated water near a human settlement. Habitat loss was another constant pressure. Every year, more roads, more logging, more hikers and campers pushing into the remote areas where her people hid. The safe zones were shrinking. Some family groups had been forced to move north into the harsh climate of Alaska and the Yukon, where survival was even more difficult, but human presence was minimal. How many children are born each year? I asked, to all your people. Deepwater's expression grew somber. In last 10 year, maybe 6, 7 baby born, 3 die before first winter, 1 taken by cougar while mother gather food. Now just 3 young one alive, all in different family, all growing up almost alone, no other children to play with, to learn from. The implications were staggering. Their population wasn't just small, it was collapsing. At this rate, they'd be functionally extinct within a generation or two. Even if every individual survived to old age, the genetic diversity was too limited. They were caught in an extinction vortex with no way out. I'm sorry, I said inadequately. I wish there was something I could do. You do something, Deepwater replied. You keep secret. You protect sacred place. You give us space to live our last days in peace. She looked up at the stars. Maybe we meant to fade. Maybe our time on earth finish. But we fade as people, not as things in cage. We fade with dignity. That your gift to us. I couldn't accept that, didn't want to accept that I was simply witnessing the end of an entire intelligent species. But what was the alternative? Revealing them would almost certainly make things worse. Even with the best intentions, human intervention would mean the end of their way of life. And who was I to make that choice for them? We parted that night with our usual gesture, fist to heart. But this time, Deepwater added something new. She touched her forehead to mine, briefly, a gesture of deep affection and trust. Then she disappeared into the darkness, and I was alone again. The encounter shook me. For weeks afterward, I wrestled with the moral implications of my silence. Was I doing the right thing by keeping their existence secret? Or was I complicit in their extinction by not seeking help? I had no good answers. I still don't. What I do have is a promise. made to a mother beside her child's grave. And that promise is the only thing I'm certain of in this entire impossible situation. I will protect what she asked me to protect. I will keep the secret she asked me to keep, and I will bear witness to their existence, even if I'm the only one who knows the truth. People sometimes ask me if I believe in Bigfoot. They ask it jokingly, expecting me to laugh or roll my eyes, and I tell them what I tell everyone. I believe these mountains hold mysteries we haven't solved. I believe nature is more complex and wonderful than we give it credit for, and I believe that some questions are better left unanswered, some secrets better left kept. But in my heart, I know the truth. I've seen what others only speculate about. I've spoken with someone who shouldn't exist, and I've been trusted with protecting something precious beyond measure. That knowledge, that responsibility, that connection to something larger than myself has given my life a meaning I never expected to find. So yes, I believe. I believe in the power of compassion to bridge impossible divides. I believe in the importance of keeping promises, even when no one would know if you broke them. I believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and I believe that somewhere in these mountains, a mother still visits her daughter's grave, still honors her lost children, still survives against all odds. And as long as I draw breath, I'll make sure she can continue to do so in peace. That's my promise. That's my purpose. That's my truth. The carving sits on my shelf, a reminder carved in antler and love. The meadow waits in the mountains, unchanged and protected. And deep water walks the wilderness, hidden from the world, but not from my thoughts. Some stories can never be told. Some truths can never be shared. Some promises can never be broken. This is mine.